Slurpy dap, my G's. How are we all doing? Hope you're doing well. Today I'm back in full effect with a dark wizard bass right up your nan's street. I want to read through a couple of comments because sometimes I forget to reply. Thanks a lot for those of you who, feel free to express yourself on my videos for good or for worse. Very inspiring. Thanks, says Alex, our #1 member. Appreciate you, man. Good job, man. Thank you for that ACZ in you. Add more colour. Disgusting indeed. Referring to the snot bass. I believe that is my friend Matt. By the way, here's a sock on my microphone. And Matt, add more colour, actually gave me this idea a long time ago. We were travelling together in Thailand. And he used to go and record people in hostels saying stupid things with his portable microphone, and he would have a sock over it for wind protection. And I always found it hilarious how you could imagine just going up to some random person and pointing a sock in their face and just recording what stupid things they have to say, and then later resampling them in a drum and bass track, probably. Anyway, Mark, man's back and booming. We try. Snipes, Slurpy Dep, my G, thanks for your videos, helped me so much. Alex, get well soon. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit better, a little bit more confident to jump back on a little window in the corner for now, anyway. So today I've got a dark wizard bass, and I was just doing some sound design this morning, and yeah, used a little sort of technique in Phase Plant to get this result, and I just wanted to share it with you guys, so I won't keep you for too long, won't be so much of a long video. Let's have a quick listen to the loop that I've made. It's a kind of continuation on the sort of military neurofunk sort of halftime beat that I've done before, but just with some new sounds to play around with. Anyway, let's have a little listen to this section and see if you like it.
The Parables of Phase Plant.
So we've got this new bass here, which I'll go and reopen here, because what I've done is I've bounced it out to audio already and placed it in a different way. But this is the bass that I wanted to show you guys how to make today, and maybe after I've quickly shown you how to make it, I will maybe do a bit of post-processing creatively, because I didn't want to affect the sound too much, because I think that if you get the sound right to begin with, you don't need to process too much. And if you look at this patch as well, it's not overly complicated. Again, just using the right combination of a few things can save you a lot of time and make some cool sounds. So anyway, let's start off with the voicing.
Listen.
So I actually start off with a sample again, because I think you always get the most interesting sounds when you resample a natural sound first, and then pump in some analog sine waves and things into it. So I've chosen this horn sample, which is, I think, an optical sample or something like that. Sounds like it wouldn't be as powerful enough to be a bass on its own. Obviously, it's like a lead, it's a horn. But we're gonna really mess this up now. So once I've got this sort of loaded in the sample here, I'll turn up the offset all the way and set the loop mode on. And then I'm just choosing a very small part of the loop right at the beginning here, and it's just going to keep re-looping over and over, as you can obviously hear. And yeah, the next thing that I've done is then I've taken the output of here and put it into the phase of a sine wave, so just an analog sine wave here. So let's turn that on. So you get that more low end kind of power coming into it. And it's actually still quite high up. It's not as low as I normally go, because down at -12, it didn't really quite gel together as well yet. So I've actually decided to sort of leave it there at this higher sort of octave of sine wave, which is, like I said, unusual for me. But what you'll notice is I had to use the shift to get it to kind of blend together. So I had to bring this all the way down to about -50. Yeah, to get the sounds to feel like they're kind of gelling together as one. So now I've got this kind of horn and this sine wave together. Now we can apply a bit of extra wizardry in the effects section. But just before we go on to do that, I actually also add in some movement already on the LFO here. And so what the LFO is going to do it's going to modulate that amount of phase modulation, frequency modulation. So, you know, it's something that I normally always do. You know, when you set the output of the sample, for example, to modulate the sine wave, I then, you know, control the speed at which it kind of modulates that. And here, just by ear, I've got like a random LFO, just a pyramid, you know, not to the grid, but it's just, yeah, going up and down pretty fast. If I turn that off, you know, it's a lot more lifeless. With that on, now I've got that movement from the sample sort of repeating, and I've got the movement from the FM amount, which is a separate speed because I've done it sort of by ear here. So quite natural movement in the sound already that's kind of humanized, and then turning on a little bit of global unison on everything, and we're just wobbling the blend on there. So that's the dry and the wet, obviously. You know, if it's a little bit more to the left, the unison is a bit more off, so it's a bit more mono, and as it goes up to the right, it's a bit more stereo, and so we're blending up and down between that, using the LFO, just mapping that to the blend here. But if I sort of turn that all the way up, very unison detuned, but I just want a little part of that. So that's like the main part of the voicing already. So let's move on to the effects.
Effects.
So I'm actually going to drop this patch on my Discord on Patreon in the Fireteam tier. You guys have really helped me a lot, and you support me and keep me able to do what I do and make content and that kind of stuff. So appreciate all of you guys a lot. And if you're not on there, highly suggest you join. Also, I've got some other phase plant presets on my website. There's a little mini free pack, and there's also my first ever like proper pack called Phase Plant Power, which is like a premium pack, and that's also available on my website. If you want to support the channel, that's another way you can. Anyway, we've got 4 effects that I'm using to really pimp out this sound. And the first 3 are mainly going to be like sort of enhancing it, you know, enhancing what we already have. But then the 4th and final one is where the dark wizardry really comes into play. And once we've done those, we'll have a quick little look at the macros as well. So the first thing is the distortion, and it's on the sine mode. And you can hear it's basically just boosting what we already have in the best way possible and adding a little bit of width with the spread. Next up, I've got a phase distortion, which again is kind of boosting what we already have, but it's prioritizing more the crunchy high end. So the tone is turned all the way up, and we're driving it about 22%. Again, adding a little bit of width here. So it's giving this distorted crunch in the high end, but you know, it's keeping the low end quite nice and clean still. Then finally, before we get onto the dark wizardry, this is the high end boost, just a normal high end boost. Again, now that I've done everything once, I'm sort of mixing things back again a little bit, because you know, when I apply the effects, it's usually always slightly too much first, and then I can mix things back off and smoothen things out a little bit. But that's pretty nice around there. So when we get onto the dark wizardry now, this is the ring mod, and basically this is going to change the tone of the whole sound and make it sound a lot cooler. And how we've got that sound is by getting a really exact specific frequency here, which has been pretty randomly found. Okay, so that's where it becomes like wicked and more neurofunk, I suppose. But you know, anywhere around there that's not quite in the right spot, I mean, you have a little bit of a sort of like gap where it starts to sound good, but if you stray too far from there, then it sort of detunes too much and it becomes like not really a unit anymore. The sound sort of loses its overall kind of shape. And obviously if we go down really low, we can add in our little kind of fluttery effect. But the point of this sound was to get this frequency just right around here, keep that bias down, add a little bit of width in, keep the mix all the way up, and get that real neurofunk tone to it. So there's a couple of things I've done on the macros as well, and they just allow us to sort of mess with the speed and the timing. So here I've got like a super fast version where the samp is basically the sample like length. So I just track the length here to the macro. So it's going to repeat, you know, on a slower or faster scale. Here it's going faster. And then here is the slow, and this is just the rate of my phase modulation. So the two main movements that are in the sound, as I mentioned before. So here you can like, you know, create the exact movements and grooves that you would need to like fit the vibe that you want for your track, pretty much. So I've left it sort of up around here for now. And what I ended up doing was bouncing out two versions, one at like a fast speed and one at like a slow speed, and then putting them into like the loop of my track. But anyway, that's the effects. So let's move on to a little bit of creative post-processing.
Processing.
So you can see these two elements are the little parts I've chopped, and the top one is slow. So this is the wizard slow. And then down below we have our wizard fast, and this is like just the faster version. So if you listen to them on their own. And so I've just chopped out little parts and sort of tried to fit them in the groove of my track. So yeah, quite like how they fit, and the sound design of them is pretty great, but I do feel like I don't want to like affect the actual sound itself so much, but I thought as a creative thing we could maybe create like a reverb version or something like that and have like a nice weird effect or something that we could also like layer in somewhere. So I'm going to bounce out one of my little slow versions here, and let's see what we can do with the processing. Maybe I can start off by adding like some extra distortion. So let's put on like a ruiner and just see how it kind of sounds here when I turn up the doom mode. Quite like that. Now I'm just going to mix that back down again a little bit. Okay, so it's a little bit different sounding to the original one. So that's a nice little sort of distorted hit. But now let's make it a bit more sort of perhaps longer and reverb it out a little bit. So why don't I add on like a delay actually? Just the idea is to lengthen it out, not necessarily have to reverb it out, you know? So I'm going to add on like an Echo Boy Junior and just find like a weird, like long... Yeah, something like this is cool. Can maybe make it wider. Oh yeah, nice ping pong, that's cool. And you can tell I just want to use that last part, you know, that cool ping pong sound. So I'm going to bounce that out, and then we're going to just going to pick that last bit out. So if I just stretch that out, sort of delete the original one here, and then here we go. So here we've got... So it's got this kind of rhythm on it already, and I want to sort of sync this up to the track. So if I add in the drums here, so maybe on a slower tempo like that, it could be quite nice already. Yeah, you could see how that would kind of work, wouldn't you? And then what I could do is I can add on a little EQ just to make sure, take out a bit of that rumble, because it's really a high-end sound that I've got here. So let's play it with our other little wizard sounds here. And I could play with the position, maybe it starts a little later. So it kind of fits, it sort of starts the reverb at the same time. The delay kind of effect that we've just made starts at the same time when the wizard actually, you know, strikes. So yeah, I think that sounds pretty cool. Let's listen in the mix. Yeah, that sounds really nice actually. And for instance, you know, if I was introducing the wizard sound, I could sort of add in. What I could do is I'll create another version here, and I'll just reverse this one, and then it can be like a little lead in that comes sort of just before this sort of switch up here. So if I play it from here. So it's quite subtle. If I turn it up so you can hear it a bit better. Yeah, but I'll leave it down because I like subtle things that you don't really notice. So, but it does kind of tease your ears of what's to come, you know? So now, you know, as I chopped up the wizard sounds, you know, the slow and the fast version, you know, it became like a one shot. And then, you know, it's like fitting in these one shots into a mix. They can be, you know, feel quite hollow or empty sometimes. And so having this sort of delayed effect that I've just done to sort of play, you know, throughout the gaps between them, just sort of quietly in the background in the high end, that's going to help allow them to feel like they're sort of sitting in a room a little bit better and like feel like those one shots aren't so lonely in the mix. So yeah, that's basically my little post-processing tip. And so it's a lot about layering and creative composition still, rather than actually, you know, going overboard with effect after effect after effect, which isn't really necessary because you end up destroying the sound a lot of the time. So again, it's about creative compositions that really, you know, make the big difference in the end for me. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate you. And yeah, I've got a new track coming out just over a week, so 1 week tomorrow, so Friday the 21st of October, called Parable. And yeah, it's a nice little sound design experiment and really cool tune. Has a really nice drop, in my opinion. I hope you're going to like it. I'll put up a premiere soon, and we can all watch it together. There won't be a music video, but we can all like check out the track together, like next Friday. If you're up for that, would be cool. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Nice weekend. I'm still sort of recovering a bit, taking it easy. But yeah, much love. Peace out.
Too great.